Okay, so a new day today with the Dart. Out here changing the rear main. It's the last couple of things I need to button up. Ended up getting a QA1 subframe or a K-member, however you call it. Just because on my subframe it's stainless and I can't really weld stainless, so swap that out and give us a little bit more room. I got some Speed Engineering mounts that mounts up to the motor. But yeah, so just changing this rear main real quick. Once I get that done, I am going to make the transmission to the motor and then start changing the subframe over and then get the motor in. After that, we will start some wiring for the Holly and everything like that. But yeah, so get this remain done and I'll turn this back on once I'm probably putting the trans together. Alright guys, so I got the engine and trans mated, torque converter bolts on. I ended up having to take the QA1 subframe back because that didn't fit. It was 1.5 inches off on the bottom, so I took that back and ended up cutting my subframe. I thought this subframe was stainless, but it's actually just plated chrome, so good to weld it. Thinking I'm going to have to push the engine back a little bit just because we're pretty close on the steering. Down there, it's a little close, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have to push it back a little bit. But yeah, another test fit. Okay, so getting a little bit more done on the Dart today. So what I'm gonna do is get the motor pushed back a little bit more. I'm working on trying to cut the tunnel a little bit, make a little bit of room for this 4080. I got some of it trimmed out, but I think I need to trim a little bit more. Yeah, trim a little bit more back, cut that tunnel out, and cut the K-member a little bit more, and then we're gonna get this engine in. Jace over doing some fab work. Getting these motor mounts ready to go in. Alright, so it's a couple days later. Jace had got the motor mounted, but we were off on one side, so he remade the plate to look like this plate, and then the motor ended up being off by like 1.5 inches, so we had to cut the tabs off and pretty much redo it. And right now I'm redoing the tabs because it just didn't turn out that good. So yeah, about to finish squaring these tabs away, and then I'm gonna weld up that K-frame, close it up, weld up the firewall, and this should be final assembly for the motor and trans. Okay, so motor's in for good now. Transmission cross member's done. I didn't really film too much of that because I was kind of doing it pretty late, but sitting in here, it's looking good. A couple more little things to button up. That's the cross member that I made. I used the stock location, and
kind of modified it a little bit, put a little urethane bushing on there, and yeah, it's looking good. I'm about to take the drive shaft off the rear and see what our measurements are now after everything.
But now I'm just doing a little cleanup right now. Probably about to spray the car off just for peace of mind, have it a little cleaner than it is. What's next is rebuilding the firewall and tunnel. So I'll get to that. Alright, so a little progress on the tunnel. Gonna finish up tomorrow. About 12 days out from LS Fest, and so far so good. Just get this finished up tomorrow. Then we're gonna do some wiring, and then fuel system. Then we gotta do the interior